As soon as Emma stepped out of the airport terminal after a week-long business trip, she spotted her younger sister, Rachel, waiting near the entrance. That alone felt strange. Rachel never came to the airport. But what her sister said next made Emma's heart skip a beat. "You can't go home right now," Rachel said, forcing a smile. "Your husband called. He said the house was treated for pests this morning. You should stay with me for a couple of days." Emma had no reason to doubt her. She nodded, picked up her suitcase, and followed her sister. What she didn't know was that before this week was over, she would discover a betrayal so shocking that it would destroy her marriage, expose a terrible secret, and change her life forever. Emma and her husband, Daniel, had been married for 8 years. Their marriage wasn't perfect, but she believed it was strong. They had survived financial struggles, career changes, and even the heartbreaking loss of a baby several years earlier. Through everything, Emma believed they remained united. Daniel had insisted he couldn't come to the airport because of work. "I'm sorry, sweetheart," he had told her over the phone. "I have meetings all day." Nothing about his voice sounded unusual. That evening, Rachel prepared dinner while Emma unpacked. The apartment felt oddly tense. Rachel kept checking her phone. She looked nervous. Emma assumed her sister was simply stressed from work. After dinner, Rachel went to take a shower. Emma remained in the living room scrolling through her own phone. A few minutes later, Rachel's phone vibrated repeatedly on the coffee table. Emma normally respected privacy. But the constant buzzing caught her attention. The screen lit up. A message preview appeared. And Emma froze. "Daniel, everything going according to plan? Has she suspected anything?" Emma stared at the screen. Her stomach tightened. What plan? Why was her husband asking Rachel that? Confused, she picked up the phone. More messages appeared. And what she read made the room spin around her. Middle hook. The messages revealed something impossible. For months, Daniel and Rachel had been secretly communicating behind Emma's back. But the worst part wasn't the lies. It was the reason they were hiding the truth. And when Emma discovered what they were planning to do with her inheritance, she felt as though her entire world had collapsed. Emma's late grandmother had passed away 6 months earlier. Before her death, she had left Emma a substantial inheritance. Nearly $500,000. Emma planned to use the money carefully. She wanted to buy a larger home and create financial security for her future family. Daniel had always encouraged her to be cautious. Or so she thought. Now, reading the messages, Emma learned the horrifying truth. Daniel had secretly accumulated enormous debts. Gambling debts. Tens of thousands of dollars. Instead of telling Emma, he had been hiding the problem for over 2 years. The messages showed he was desperate. Collectors were threatening legal action. His financial situation was collapsing. And he had a plan. A cruel plan. If he convinced Emma to invest the inheritance into a fake business opportunity controlled by one of his friends, the money could quietly disappear. By the time Emma realized the truth, it would be too late. Rachel knew everything. Every message proved it. Emma felt physically sick. Tears blurred her vision. She couldn't understand why her own sister would participate. Rachel had always been her closest friend. The person she trusted most. The bathroom door opened. Rachel stepped out. The moment she saw Emma holding the phone, her face turned pale. Neither woman spoke. The silence felt endless. Finally, Rachel whispered. "Emma. How long?" Rachel lowered her head. 6 months. Emma's voice shook. "Why?" Rachel sat down slowly. Tears filled her eyes. "I never wanted to hurt you." "Then why did you?" Rachel began crying. And then she told the truth. Months earlier, Rachel had discovered Daniel's debts. He had begged her for help. At first she refused. But Daniel manipulated her. He claimed he would lose everything. He claimed collectors might become dangerous. He claimed Emma would never forgive him if she found out. Little by little, Rachel became involved. Each lie led to another. Soon she was trapped. But according to Rachel, she never intended for the plan to succeed. She had been searching for a way to tell Emma. Emma wanted to believe her. But the betrayal hurt too much. Without another word, she grabbed her suitcase and left. That night she checked into a hotel. For hours she sat awake. Thinking. Crying. Remembering every conversation. Every lie. Every excuse. Every moment she had trusted them. By morning, something inside her had changed. She was no longer heartbroken. She was determined. If Daniel wanted to deceive her, she would expose everything. Over the next week, Emma quietly gathered evidence. Bank statements. Emails. Text messages. Financial records. The deeper she looked, the worse it became. The debts were even larger than she thought. Daniel had borrowed money from friends, relatives, and private lenders. He was drowning financially. Meanwhile, he continued pretending everything was normal. Every day he called. Every day he acted concerned. "Are you feeling okay? When are you coming home? I miss you." Emma recorded every conversation. Then she contacted a lawyer. The lawyer reviewed the evidence and confirmed her fears. If she had transferred the inheritance as Daniel planned, recovering it would have been almost impossible. The attorney advised immediate action. Emma followed every recommendation. She secured her inheritance. Separated financial accounts. Protected personal assets. And prepared for the confrontation. 2 weeks later, she returned home. Daniel greeted her with a hug. "Thank God you're back." Emma calmly stepped away. "We need to talk." His smile faded. She placed a folder on the kitchen table. Inside were hundreds of pages. Evidence. Proof. Messages. Financial records. Screenshots. Daniel's face lost all color. For several seconds he simply stared. Then he realized. Everything was over. "Emma, please let me explain." "Explain what?" "The lies. The manipulation. Or the fact that you tried to steal my inheritance." Daniel broke down. He admitted everything. The debts. The gambling. The scheme. The deception. Every terrible detail. Emma listened silently. When he finished, she removed her wedding ring. Placed it on the table. And walked away. The divorce process was painful. But Emma refused to let bitterness consume her. Instead, she focused on rebuilding her life. She attended therapy. Strengthened friendships. Invested her inheritance wisely. Started a consulting business. For the first time in years, she felt independent. Strong. Free. Rachel repeatedly tried to apologize. For months Emma ignored her. The wound was simply too deep. But time has a strange way of healing even the worst injuries. Nearly a year later, Rachel sent a handwritten letter. Not an excuse. Not a justification. Just a sincere apology. Page after page of honest regret. Emma read it several times. Eventually, she agreed to meet. The conversation lasted hours. Both sisters cried. Both admitted mistakes. Trust wasn't restored overnight. But slowly, carefully, they began rebuilding their relationship. 2 years later, Emma's life looked completely different. Her business was thriving. She owned a beautiful home. She traveled often. And most importantly, she trusted herself again. One evening, while sitting on her balcony overlooking the city lights, she reflected on everything that had happened. The betrayal. The heartbreak. The lies. The loss. At the time, she thought those events had destroyed her. Now she realized they had revealed her strength. Sometimes life removes people not to punish us, but to protect us. Sometimes betrayal exposes truths we desperately need to see. And sometimes the worst chapter becomes the beginning of the best one. Final hook. Years later, Emma received an unexpected message from a number she didn't recognize. There was only one sentence. "Thank you for leaving me, because losing you forced me to become the man I should have been." The message was signed Daniel. Emma looked at the screen for a long moment. Then she smiled, locked her phone, and watched the sunset. Because for the first time in her life, her happiness no longer depended on anyone else's choices. It belonged entirely to her.